see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull no punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey, welcome everybody. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. How are you, Brandy?
Well, I'm okay. I always hate the work week before a holiday. I just hate the weeks building up to it because it just like
Right.
everybody's like, hurry up and get everything done. I'm like, so we can get an extra day off. Is that all we're getting? Just one day? We have to work all this
Right.
overtime. So I
Right.
think they do a little bit of overkill.
Yeah, I
But
hear
other
you.
than that, just waiting on them storms to roll back in. It seems like every weekend, every time we come on, there's storms rolling through.
I got one getting ready to hit here. It's been lightning and thundering pretty good. So seems like every Thursday and Friday it never fails, right?
What a wonderful spring.
I know, isn't it? However, it was like really nice temperatures today.
Oh, it was beautiful
Yeah,
today.
we were sitting outside today, so it's nice. It's been
Ah,
nice.
I wish we could sit outside. Dang, that's so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, we had my kids were all over here, the grown kids, and we had dinner and we were sitting outside quite a bit. So
Ah, that's so
it was
nice.
nice. Yeah. So definitely, there's quite a few people in chat, and I always hate mentioning names because I always either my computer refreshes and I miss someone, but I'm going to give it a shot. So uh,
Okay, well, keep trying.
Gary Spike Sr., hello. Night Marionette, hello. Okay, Nana. Crystal McGee, glad to have you both. Gene Hudson, CJ, hello. Chiro Sounds, good to have you. BMR, long time no see. I said CJ already. Looks like Daryl Denton's in the chat. Let's see here. I don't want to miss anybody. Pat Murphy, hello. And oh, shoot, I just refreshed. Good grief. I hate when it does this because then I lose it. Letitia, Glenn Dannison is in. Let's see. Suji is in Jonestead Farms, and it just refreshed again. So John, hello. I am so sorry if I miss anybody. Like I said, it our chat, we can see it on the side of us, and it constantly refreshes for me, and it makes me miss names. So I apologize. I don't mean to do that on purpose.
Well, it happens. It happens. It just keeps refreshing, and you're just like, come on, wait a minute, stop.
Right, right. Let me get through the names here. Yeah. So anyway,
I was,
it's a good day.
yeah, that's right. That's right. But one thing I wanted to bring up to everybody tonight is we have a lot of things in the works for Blondes and Booze, a lot of conferences, a lot of ghost hunts, a lot of things going on. Um, we're trying to get our subscribers up on actually the Blondes and Blue Booze, because we know that everybody, if you're watching from Texas Front Porch, that's where your peeps are. That's where you like to chat. But that's okay. But please like and subscribe to our channel, because I got some really cool ghost hunts, and I'm trying to be able to do some lives from there. And you're not going to believe where I'm going, but so let's try to get them subscribes up, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, because even if we appreciate you for sure listening in through Texas Front Porch as well.
Absolutely.
However, just at least subscribe to us and hit the bell icon, and then go back to Texas side. We're good with that.
Yeah, because we don't care where you chat.
Yeah. Subscribe to us. That's all we're asking.
Because if you've all seen me on chat, I'm bouncing from room to room, because I'm like, I want to talk to them and I want to talk to them. I'll bounce all over the place.
Right. So, and we do that so we can, bring this to multiple people, multiple rooms. So,
right.
Absolutely. Multiple channels. That's what it's all about. So do you want to tell everybody what they can watch this week?
Sure, absolutely. Well, of course, on Monday nights at 6:30 p.m. Central, you have Texas Front Porch with our big old lovable Tex and me. On Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, you have Van Buren Variety. 8 p.m. Central, you have Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Beyond BMR. On Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, you have Jason McLean's Questions Everything. Thursday at 12 p.m. Central, you have Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and Krista. On Thursday evening at 8 p.m., you can catch Blondes and Booze. And if you like Blondes and Booze, you can catch them twice on Friday night at 8 p.m. Central with Blondes, Booze, and the Woo.
And you forgot one.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I sure did. Just starting April 1st, starting this weekend, Saturday, Tex and Danielle will be dropping their first episode of Infamous Minds. So take a look at that, because they're going to be deep diving into the psyche of, serial killers and other weird stuff. So
that'll be good.
That's going to be really cool.
Watch. Yeah. Yep, for sure. With Tex and Danielle Diva. So y'all make sure you tune into those shows too.
Yes.
There'll be some
it's
good
gonna be
ones.
Really cool.
Yep. Well, I'm excited about tonight's show. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes. It's been a long time coming. I think we've had this book for quite some time.
But you know me, Brandy, I book way out. You know that. You know how I roll. I don't like
she'll book like into June and July.
I am booking into June now. Seriously. Yeah. That's just how I roll, Although I got to say, today's show I did with BMR, and that was fun. It was just the two of us and just, talking about different things. That was kind of cool. So kind of like our Sunday show.
Yeah, it was really good. And I can catch, which is cool, because I go to lunch at 12, so I can catch about 20 minutes of it. So it's really cool, and you can catch a lot of that. But I think it is like UFO week on Texas Front Porch.
Yep, exactly. Because we're going to talk UFOs tonight and whatever other rabbit hole we go down. I'm just not going to waste any time. I am going to bring Sir Bryan Bowden up.
Yes, hello.
Lou. Yes.
We appreciate you coming in and tuning in with us.
I always appreciate being asked. I think it's an honor and a privilege, especially on your show.
Thank you.
And I think we met at one point on Texas. We did that with Michigan Rob. So it's a pleasure.
We definitely appreciate you coming on and doing this. Like I said, I was telling her, but I book way out, and as you know, this has been booked for a long time.
This has been a while. This has been a long while. Thank God for my calendar. And thank God for people in my life that actually go, did you check your calendar? I'm like, what?
Right?
They keep changing it. It used to pop up.
Krista is my calendar. Yeah, Krista is my calendar, because I have no idea what we're doing. She goes, do you remember who's on this week? I'm like, no.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I'm like, I do. I know.
So I do have a question. A question, one right off the bat. Why the sir?
I'm actually a Knights Templar.
Okay.
Really?
I'm a legitimate Knights Templar. My title is Sir Knight Bryan
Gotcha.
Bowden. Yes. So hence the Sir.
Gotcha. And
Okay. Okay.
I apologize for the flyer and
No,
YouTube.
no, no. It's really funny. I spell my name with a Y.
Yeah,
My
my bad. I'm sorry.
no, 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 no. It's fine because most people spell it with an I. Because
Mhm.
my first cousin's name is
Yeah.
Brian too, which really just pissed off everybody. People, like I think my mother and my aunt were like spiting each other. So I will answer to anything. There's a lot of B's in my family, and
Mhm.
I've answered to Roy, Bobby. I don't.
Yep.
I'll just go along, nod knowingly, to trying to
Oh
assess
yeah.
whether you need some medication or not, and I'll just no, no. It happens all the time. I do correct it now because when when you're doing interviews or whatever, you want people to be able to catch you. So
Mhm.
and if they search for BRY and they're like, oh, well,
Sure.
does he spell his name? Yeah, so it
Mhm.
just makes it easier. No harm, no foul. It's
Yep.
it's
I
all good.
apologize for that.
Oh,
I
no
did
apology.
fix it.
Well, I appreciate that. I noticed that because I was sharing your promo on the Blondes
Mhm.
and Booze page on Facebook, and I'm like,
Mhm.
no, spell my name with a Y. So I did that, but I still shared it anyhow because I wanted people to come. And
Yeah.
I'm not as good with sharing and promoting like Al is.
Yeah.
Um, Al could have his own marketing company when it comes to this. He's really, really good at this.
Mhm.
But I do my best.
Oh yeah.
Mostly because I'm probably banned on Facebook 99% of the time.
We've all been there. We've all been in
I've
Facebook
Yeah.
been
jail.
there more than
Yeah.
some.
Ooh, oh, I've
Yeah.
been there a lot
More
of
than
times.
some.
Mention my name, you'll get a good bed.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mine was just for saying words that keywords. Let's just say
They
that.
literally
It's for
now
saying
are getting me
keywords.
on things like, from 2015. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
Statute of limitations, okay? No.
Yeah, exactly. That thing's already
That's
done,
funny.
gone, and dead. Leave it
And
alone.
and and I'm gonna be brutally honest. I know how I used to deal with computers a lot, and I know what they're doing. They're using third world individuals, and
Mhm.
most of which are religious in a certain religion.
Yeah.
Um, and if they find something offensive or goes against it, they'll mark it and they'll just do it anyhow. And you have no way to
Mhm.
combat it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is what it
Yeah.
is. You sit
It
back,
is.
laugh, and then when you come back, you just blow obscenities to the people that run the company. And that's
Yeah.
that.
I hear you. You are just like a man of all trades.
Yes.
Yeah. I've
Mhm.
been called Brian of all trades, not like Jack, but I've done a lot of different things. From education wise into business, and
Mhm.
then but I've always had this interest in science and the paranormal.
Yeah.
So and if you hear any yelling in the background, my wife is yelling at my youngest right now. So that could be that may be pay-per-view. But yeah, no, I'm very interested in a lot of things. I found out
Mhm.
early on my mother was a special ed teacher,
Mhm.
and she took me for all these tests for all these psychiatrists and psychologists to see if I was on the yellow school bus or not. And when they do those tests on you to assess you, they're giving you IQ tests.
Yeah.
And the lowest score I got, because I still have it, is 179, and the highest
Wow.
one, and I still remember it because I was sitting there. They go, it's well over 200. We can't give you a score because we can't calculate it right now.
Wow.
So basically, it's
Hmm.
Brian will do what he wants when he wants. And well,
I
I
get
mean,
it.
but it's not that I'm trying to be difficult. It's like I wanted to learn how to play guitar. I learned how to play
Sure.
guitar. I've self-taught in piano. I mean, these things I do, and I have interest. And then when life kicks in, I was studying physics and astronomy and thinking about astrophysicist or something like that, or
Wow.
astro engineer. And then I'm like, what are you, an idiot? You're not going to make any money. I'm going to work at the university,
All right.
Right.
getting maybe max out at 100 grand a year, maybe, and have to
Wow.
deal with snotty nosed kids, and I
Yeah.
have to publish every year. It was just so I went into business, and of
Wow.
course, when my first run with doing finance and stuff, I worked for the International Monetary Fund
Mhm.
and World Bank, and one of my first assignments was to create a way to get third world nations out of debt, which I did. And I said, are
Wow.
you really doing this to get them out of debt, or is this just like a mouthpiece? And they smiled at me and they said, no, we're really doing it. And I said, okay, great. Well, just make sure you recycle it. know,
There you
I
go.
wrote a great
Okay.
plan. I wrote a great plan for him, and it
Right.
would have worked. But and then
Wow.
it was always in science. I mean, been interested in this stuff since seeing my first monster movie way back when.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
UFOs and Buck Rogers and Planet of the Apes, that type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and then once you get out into the field and you're able to, you actually get a car or transportation, you kind of go like, okay, I'm going to go up here. You'll take a couple friends with you, but sometimes these guys, they don't want to do any of this stuff. Like, what are we doing in the woods? Oh, we're looking for this witch that you they're like, can we just get high? No, we can't. We're looking for a witch. So we're doing these things, and then after a while, I would just go by myself. And a couple times it got hairy. And that's why I don't like going out, and I don't recommend anybody goes out by themselves too often.
Agreed. Agreed.
This was pre-cell phone, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm old. This is beeper, okay? Try to give a beeper code when you're in the middle of the woods.
Right.
7742, what is he saying? You need something? Does he need beer? No, he's in trouble. Because you can get really hurt. There's a lot of weird people out there that like to hang out in the woods and do stupid things, hurt people. You could fall and kill yourself. So it's always better, and I highly recommend you go out with people, or get at least one person, so that if something happens, either to you or them, you can go get help. That's it.
Absolutely.
And then
wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. I've been doing this for 40 plus years, and a bunch of years ago, I met this guy named Al Sanderiga, and he's like, I want you for the team. I'm like, okay. Whatever.
You almost sounded like him right there.
Yeah, well, I've been with him. He's like a brother to me, like he's a little pissed off at me right now, but he's still good. And it's just like clicked off. Like you've known each other you were meant to be.
Yeah.
And he has one way of doing things, I have another, but we also come together. So it's like a great play off each other. And we always go through, we have these stupid little arguments every once in a while, and then but he'll put his point through. Well, what about this?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, yeah, that part. Or what about? And I'll throw something at him. And a couple different times not that we're trying to influence you to change your opinion, but we're putting enough evidence behind it to say, okay, that is plausible. I'll keep it going.
Yeah.
But we've gotten ourselves into some really great experiences on our investigations. We help out as many people we can, and we still go solo because I moved from New York down to Florida, but I'm coming back up in June.
Gotcha.
And I'm planning on doing a lot of investigating. I'm trying to film some stuff, so I want to try to sell something to a network. It's never been done before. And so I have to get people I know with cameras. Like, I'll give you a 6-pack. Just stay here for a few hours, just film us, and we'll edit it. Cheap friends, they're good.
Right.
And it's not. I'm not doing this to be a Paris celebrity. Okay, I've been on a bunch of different shows. You don't make money as a Paris celebrity at all. The guys from Taps made money, and they're the grandfathers of this whole thing. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have 99% of these ship programs. I want to be able to go into an investigation and play with really expensive toys that I can't afford. Right? Like a $60,000 drone.
Right.
A FLIR drone.
Me too.
And whatever.
Me too.
And so the only way to do that is like, listen, we're going in the woods with Bigfoot. We need that $60,000 drone right now. Okay, let's go get it. Have somebody else pay the bill. But I want to actually give you evidence. I don't want to just. I'm tired of all these shows that tag along. Tag along.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've come up with a method where this is through years using my physics background, my astronomy, and tone and sound. Really feel that we have come up with a Tesla talked about sound frequency, vibration, resonance. And it's definitely that is the key to this whole subject. It doesn't matter if you're a ghost hunter, Bigfoot, Dogman, Chicken Guy, the Owl Man. The Owl Man who? It doesn't matter which one you're looking for. There's a common thread, and this protocol and these things that we use now in with sound and frequency and vibration. Actually, I will almost guarantee you will have an experience if you employ them in your investigations, we'll say.
Mhm.
And we put that to the test. We were on a show called Alien Invasion Hudson Valley UFO.
Mhm.
And I hate these shows because I brought all this stuff to them. They'd never heard of it before. And I said, I'm going to guarantee you something. You're going to get a UFO brought in. You're going to actually have real evidence for your show. And Ben Hanson's in there, and a friend of ours, Mark D'Antonio, is there. Melissa Title is there. And we brought in craft. We
Yeah.
brought in using sound, frequency, vibration. And then they took the idea and they ran with it as if their own. TV magic, people.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
although they gave me a good title in there, UFO historian or whatever it is, and then I was used on a different program with Ben, UFO Witness, where I got a better title this time around. But they were blown away. Ben was blown away. Everybody was blown away because what we did, and we started ramping up the area with sound.
Mhm.
And and Mark D'Antonio, if you don't know who he is, he's an astronomer. He's the main guy for MUFON.
Okay.
A lot of movie stuff. He takes care of the audio and video for them. One of the smartest guys you will ever meet. He's
Wow.
just a wonderful human being. And Mark was like, I can't explain what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a meteor. And we're like, Mark,
Right.
not a meteor, buddy. And
Right.
as soon as we started ramping up the area with tones and frequency, these things started peeking in. It was totally intelligent.
Yeah.
They were literally these we'll call them balls of light, small balls of light were coming down. They were in the trees. They were hiding, peeking. They would come down by us and then go off in the other direction, but then come back. And it was just not just one of them. There were several of them. And
Wow.
we brought in a bigger craft because in the background on the FLIR / the psionic, you can see something bigger coming in, a bigger ball. It was really, really interesting.
Wow.
And I've used that technique for everything from UFOs to cryptids to whatever you want. And it's proven over and over and over again to be very, very promising, successful. I've used it to literally, we opened a portal up in New York State.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. One of the things we did, and that they have these things called stone chambers, ancient stone chambers, and they pockmark New York State all the way up into New England. And there's a place called America's Stonehenge, owned and operated by Dennis Stone, who's a great guy, also a friend. And I've been there, before I met Dennis, before I became friendly with him. I loved that place. My brother, his wife, and my wife were like, "What the hell are we doing here? It's just rocks." And I'm like, "It's American Stone. You got it." They don't understand the concept of what's going on here. But
Sure.
so we went into this one chamber, and the chamber is about 10 feet high. It's in the side of right off the side of a road. You'd never know it was there. 10 feet high, from floor to ceiling, 10 feet,
Yeah.
12 feet wide, and whatever. When you walk in, you're on the corner of the entrance. And then when you come in, you open this little room up here, and in the back is a main type of stone in the middle.
Wow.
And you're looking at the stone, and you're like, wow, this is really cool. It's cooler in there. We were in the summer, so it was very warm outside. When you got in there, it was like, I think it was like 60 something degrees. So
Wow.
That would be
it was
nice.
cool. Yeah, well, it was really great. But most people say, oh, that's just a root cellar. The size of the stones that were being moved, and the fact that each one is astronomically aligned, and there are also other magnetic anomalies around the area of the stone. Yeah, they may have used it as a root cellar, some people, but no, that was built for different purposes. But the cool part is when you go into this room and you look at the back wall, it's a giant stone, probably as wide as a door. Okay,
Yeah.
and it kind of peaks up to a top of like a church, glass, stained glass. Caps off like a bishop's helmet, hat. I'm not helmet. Bishops don't have helmets. And so you look at it normally, and it's mossy and it's great. And you go right up to it, you look at it, it looks like a regular stone that's been weathered and water's gotten into it. If you look at it with UV light or infrared light, there were 4 runic letters on the back of the wall.
Yeah.
and it stands for earth, water, fire, air.
Mm-hmm.
And you take off your the glasses, or take the light away from it, and it just you would never know it was there. So
Wow.
this is part of the stuff you're on the investigation. So what we did was, I was there with Al, actually. I started filming with FLIR, and I used the handheld FLIRs for the phone, because again, I'm not made of money and I can't afford $10,000 FLIR with me. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm using the FLIR, and then what we're doing, we use a lot of singing bowls, Tibetan singing bowls, and they're in different keys. And I only bring one that's physical with me, and it's the heart. It's either the heart of it's the heart chakra, and I forgot what the frequency is and what tone it is related to the musical scale.
Yeah.
But I have another app called Bowls, and it has about 15 different bowls on it, and they're accurately done. So I just kept kind of like, playing them louder for a few minutes, and then looking at the FLIR. And then where I'm standing at the back of this room, and Al's kind of to my left, and Al went out in 1 minute to go get his digital thermometer.
Yeah.
And then he comes back in. All I was doing while he was out was ramping up the energy, playing tone after tone after tone. And as soon as he came back in, I started to notice. And this video, by the way, there is a video of this. It's on Bronxville Paranormal Society YouTube page, and you'll see it's like 3 FLIR videos. A portal started to form around the center of where we were. And you can see the door outside, and you can see it. And what's very interesting, it's blacker, like a dark plummy purple, and then it slowly goes into a little lighter purple, and then you can see it's just encompassing this one area. It's just forming in.
Wow.
Like, oh my God, I think we just opened a portal. Okay.
Folks.
And Al's like, I said, look, you can hear me. Look at this. And at one point, while I'm looking at the screen, I noticed I'm kind of like looking at the screen, but looking up, if you ever use your peripheral vision to do both at the same time. And I swear there's something that peeked its head in, like did one of these, and then peeked out. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope I caught that. And it's on the video. And something just peeked in. And I'm thoroughly convinced we opened a portal. Now you got to fast forward. If anybody watches Skinwalker Ranch, they had a guy on there, a rabbi on there, that did a prayer for portal. Okay, now if you look at the video and watch that over again, they opened the portal there at Skinwalker Ranch.
Wow.
Several portals on Skinwalker Ranch. Using the same FLIR, that rainbow spectrum FLIR.
Yeah.
As the portal opens up, it was the darker purple that started to form around the area, and then the lighter purple. I mean, to a T.
Wow.
And we were just like, this is incredible. Now, we were tempted, like, do we put something in there? Do we not put something in there? We were a little bit like, like more amazed at what was going on at the time. So this summer, I'm going back to that specific chamber, and I'm going to have at least 2, if not 4 FLIRs going at once in every corner, and so we can capture it. And then what I want to do is I want to hopefully open up that portal again. And then I'm going to take one of those faux pros or a GoPro, something cheaper because it's going to be expensive. I don't want to ruin this, but something that you can see wirelessly. And once this thing starts to form, I'm going to actually stick that pro, GoPro in there, and see what we can get out of that.
Wow.
Pull out. But I thoroughly believe that the longer we use the tone and we generate pure tone better, I think we're going to have a really interesting experience there. And there was another person in your chat while I was talking about that, and I apologize, Titan, and was asking about stones itself providing frequency. Yes, stones do provide frequency, and they also aid in taking the frequency you're putting out there and amplifying it. And it's been my theory for a very, very long time that there are places around this planet that are very reminiscent of stone structures that have been used as portals. Or you can call them stargates if you want, but they're basically portals to go from one point to another. and this is almost in every country.
Yeah.
And I've been to Stonehenge, which is an awesome place if you can get there. And while I was there, I was kind of testing some stuff out, and I thoroughly believe that Stonehenge wasn't just like the guy's night out at the local bar. We're going to the Piggly Wiggly, and these women are killing me, man. It wasn't that. I think what it was, Stonehenge itself was a portal to transport people from one spot to another.
Wow.
And the way they did it is, if you want to hear me out, they encompassed it. They went around the stones in multiple layers.
Yeah.
Internally, externally, and using vocal tones, kind of like Gregorian chants. They actually had the sound waves bouncing off, just like I did at the stone chamber, and they were able to open up a portal, and someone would go in and then up out, depending on what frequency they were using. I think they were wise enough to know where they were going to go.
Sure. I want to say something really quick. I don't mean to interrupt you. If anybody in chat has any questions for Bryan, please put them in all caps, and then the second half of the show, we'll go back and answer questions.
Sure.
I'll get them start, and we'll go back and answer them. But yeah, please put your questions in all caps.
Sometimes they just get moving so fast we don't catch them unless they're in caps.
Well, I try, even when I was do my own show, especially when you guys I don't know who's the one that's manning the answering versus the other one, but usually it's me that's the guy that has to go and like, okay, hey, this person had that, and answer the questions. But I always monitor it because a lot of the times your guests have, your audience and your friends and fans have some really credible questions that will. I'll try to answer and, get that going on there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Real quick too. I see Hellbent Holler is in the chat, and I got to tell you guys, I watched their latest video. It's worth watching. And if you guys are not subscribed to Hellbent Holler, I highly recommend it. They put out some great content as well. So anyway, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize, Bryan.
No, you got it. You know what? It's all about promoting people and promoting,
And that's how we are. We're all about it. And if I like, a certain channel a whole lot, I promote it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't done my channel in a while because, there was a lot of deaths last year. But I'm going to pick up. I have another show coming on. It's totally different. It's going to be a co-host with me, and she's a card reader, and she's really, really talented. But
what is your channel?
I have a bunch of different channels. So I have several different YouTube channels. So I have New York State UFO Project, Bronxville Paranormal Society. Then I have Inside the Goblin Universe. It's a program that I do with Ron Murphy.
Okay.
I also do Nobo Boomy, and it's all done through Inside the Goblin Universe. But this is going to be something different.
Wow. Okay.
I was trying to get like this, ghost things specific to one, Sasquatch to another or whatever. And it's just trying to get people to like and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. Just hit the thumbs up button.
Exactly.
Hit the subscribe notifications. Yes. And when you subscribe, select all. And then you don't have to do anything else. You don't even have to watch it at this point.
Right.
But it's nice to know that you're loved for doing what you're doing that you love to do. So
well, Bryan, when you start, if you're more than welcome to post all of your videos and stuff in Blondes and Booze.
No problem.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what I'll do
we love that stuff.
Yeah, I there's some really good videos up there from Bronxville Paranormal Society, and
now I do subscribe to that one. That one I do subscribe.
I do too. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
don't know what I do anymore. Everything just pops up. Just like, hello, there's everybody.
We moved from paper subscriptions to getting catalogs every month. Like, oh, that looks good. To I think there's a notification something's coming up.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I think it's with me because I drive all the time. It's like I'm constantly in the car. It's just it just pops right up, and I just turn it on, and away we go. So I listen to a lot of it in the car.
Yeah. So we moved from New York to Florida, and I didn't fly. We drove several times.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would go and then download podcasts, shows like Space Diary, my friend Dave Scott's shows and whatever. And yes. Actually, I did a little of the Michigan Rob stuff as well. Yep. And because it's interesting, you miss something, or I mean, you got to be honest. No offense, I love you, Dave, but you're from 9 to 12 p.m. and I'm from 12 to 3 a.m. You know, when I do these shows, and the problem with me is it's not even that you get off sometimes at 2 a.m. It's when you get that second wind where you're like, I'm going to be up all night long. Yeah, you can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation. I think Gary Swakes Jr., you know, he's been on, and he depending on where you are in this world, that's brutal. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're like, maybe we should just feed mayo to tuna, you know.
See, and 3:30 is when I get up to go to work. So I mean, I got the best of both worlds. You know, I go to sleep, you know, because everybody usually comes on between 7 and 8, and they're over by 9 or 10. So I go to bed, and then, you know, there's some people up at 3:30 in the morning talking some stuff. I'm telling you, I found out the best stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning.
There's some really good stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning. And
3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we've had a couple of good discussions, and I've done a couple of, you know, we can get really serious at that point where you may not be like banned by somebody at that point. I don't think they've been paying attention at that. But prime time is a different story.
Well, we get, you know, the people from UK and Australia and all of them. That's when they start sparking up. Is the middle of our night. So, that's a whole different ball game.
You know, I interviewed on my show. I forgot his name. I'm trying to remember. I can see his picture and I can see his face, you know, in my head. Vanderbrook. I forgot it. I forgot your first name, and I'm sorry.
Oh, the author.
No, he's a UFO experiencer.
Okay.
And he's a friend. Well, I'm friends with him. I just haven't talked to him in a while. But on my show, one of our friends, this guy Johnny Webb, we were talking. You know, James Vanderbrook.
Okay. Yeah.
And not the psychic guy, but there's another guy, and he's out of the Netherlands. And you may know him. He's had a lot of interactions with craft, and he does a lot of paranormal stuff. Sometimes what happens while you're talking to him, and he did this on the show, he'll start getting scars and red markings on his body. Fruit will start getting markings on it. We literally I told everybody, bring a piece of fruit with you and put it there while you're listening to it and watch the fruit. And people were getting, this is one of the byproducts of, he tells you it's going to happen. It happens. And you start getting burn marks in the fruit, different symbols, different signs. He's able to take a camera. You can take a brand new camera, be it film or even an SD card, put it in one of those digital cameras, brand new. Yeah. And he'll take pictures, and you'll see a superimposed image of something on there. He's had the Pope, he's had Manson, aliens, you name it. It's happened. And this gets into the UFO zone. So, you know, we're talking about all these different things with him about, you know, his experiences with these craft and these beings, and they keep contacting him. And he almost, I want to say it's like a stigmata, but it's not. He starts getting hot. It's just appearing in front of your face. He's not rubbing his face, and he's not like rubbing any liquid on it. But the difference in time is like, we're at 9 o'clock, you know, and it's like 3 a.m. where he is. And I literally did a 6-hour interview. Okay. We did an hour pre-show, hour and a half pre-show. And we did about 3 to 4 hours on the regular show. And then, you know, he had to go to sleep. So I'm talking to my buddy Johnny, and just before my partner Ron jumped off, it's just me and Johnny. Goes, did I tell you about the tentacles? And I'm like, no. What are you talking about, tentacles? Oh, Robert got tentacles from aliens. I'm like, Johnny, you're telling me this now? So he starts to explain. So Robert, and that's it, Robert Vanderbrook. Robert gets a message. He gets these feelings and messages, and it's like telekinesis. They talk to him in the brain. Meet me at this location. So it's like 3 a.m. his time. He's like, okay. And he's learned to get up. Like, they'll tell you, go to the window. And he'll go to the window, and a craft would appear. So he goes over, and it's a location kind of near it's a roadway, but it's like one of these you pull off, and it's an emergency access type of area. And he's in a field, and you can see a little bit of the lights in the city. And he's like, "What am I doing here?" And he hears, "We're coming." And he kind of looks up, and he sees this light, and it looks like a star initially. Then it gets brighter, so it looks like one of the planets. It's twinkling. It's really bright, and it looks like an egg. And it's in this, and it's slowly getting bigger, and then it hovers above him, and then out of the egg come two extraterrestrials that look like grays. And if you don't know what a gray is, just look at Whitley Strieber's book Communion. It's basically a very small gray extraterrestrial. There's different versions of extraterrestrials of different species and large grays, but these are small. He says they're not like your gray. They're kind of like that taupey feel to it with some spots. But what he noticed is they have these tentacles coming off of them.
Yeah.
Sized tentacles. And he's like, what do you want from me here? Why did you bring me here? And they said, we want you to show the world that we're real and we're here. And we're here to help. And there's a variety that aren't here to help, but we're one of the ones that are here, and we're coming, and we're going to make our presence known. And he's like, no one's going to believe me. They already think I'm crazy for what I can do. And like, how am I going to prove this to these people? They're just going to think you're nuts. He goes, we'll give you the proof. And they start shedding their tentacles.
Wow.
So these tentacles start falling down from the sky. And they said, take them, store them, and you show them as proof, and that'll prove that we are what we're saying. Johnny's telling me this, and I would go, again, Johnny, you're telling me this when he went to sleep? This is good stuff. This is like what a podcast, you want from a podcast.
Right.
So he continues on. He sends me pictures of the tentacles, and the tentacles look like octopus tentacles. Okay. They have suction cups on them, but they're a little bit off and weird. It's not your typical octopus. And it's elongated. He has the, thick ones that are probably, 6 inches thick. And then they kind of taper off into like, a little piece, and they have all these tentacles on it. They have these really weird, it's two-tone greenish taupe with these spots on it. And I'm looking at this thing like, what the hell is this? So they take the tentacles. Johnny goes, listen, they freeze some of them, and he goes, give me one of the tentacles. What I want to do is I want to do the DNA on it.
Wow.
And send it to a bunch of different universities.
That would be my first thing. Yeah.
Yep. So he goes back to England, where Johnny lives, sends to the British Museum and several other Oxford, and then two other museums or research labs, and pays his own money to have the DNA sample. So they come up there, and that he said, you can take a sample of this. They take a sample of the actual tentacle, and then after that's over with, he goes to a buddy of his. His entire family has been in a fishmonger's for like generation after generation, like 100+ years.
Wow.
And he goes, I want to show you something. What do you make of this?
Yeah.
And the guy looks at it, and he's looking at the whole thing. He goes, well, normally I would say that, you're close to an octopus here, but I've never seen anything like this. And I've seen everything in the ocean. I mean, we've caught several different types of octopus, and I've never seen anything like this. This is very bizarre. This is where'd you get this? And so Johnny has to go, I can't tell you where I got it, but I wanted your impression. He goes, there's something about it is different. A couple of weeks go by after this. Johnny's really happy. He's like, oh, we're going to finally get the evidence that we need. Here's your DNA. And he goes to every location, Oxford, British Museum, not the other two places that that he went to, and he's been blown off. So he finally look, I paid you £1,000, which is a lot of money for him per test. You said you had the results, and you're not giving me the results. We're not allowed to give you results.
Wow. After he paid for it.
Not one of them was allowed to give the results. He says, well, then give me the samples back. He goes, we're not going to give you the samples back either. Where did
that
you
is BS. That tells you everything you need to know.
And so I'm like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to sue them? He goes, no way in hell. They won't, I'll have nothing because
Right.
I can't. And then it brings heat on him, you know. And from
Mhm.
that
Wow.
point forward, it did bring a bunch of heat on him, but he doesn't care. Johnny's he's a great guy, and he
Mhm.
doesn't care. Truth has to come out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would kill for evidence, that has like wait, a
Sure.
second alien that have tentacles now.
Right.
I'm waiting for that moment. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for a Bigfoot to go here. Take these,
Yeah.
let them
Yeah.
know.
You want a
Yeah,
DNA? Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, that's the holy grail of this thing. And the
Wow.
reason why it's holy grail, some people are in it for money.
Hmm.
What money? I don't know.
Right.
I'm in it for answers. I've always had these questions. I'm sure everybody in this chat is like, holy, I want to know why they're here. I want to know
Mhm.
why they're doing what they're doing. So that's why I'm in it. But every once in a while I go, did you get the tentacle stuff back yet? He goes, no, I'm still, and he still badgers them for it. You need to give it to me.
Wow.
You need to give it to me. Nope.
Heck yeah, because rightfully it's his, but he'll never see that again.
That's
Oh
just
no.
like, yeah, no, there's so many different cases when it comes to paranormal based. And when I say paranormal is a universal term for all of it,
Hmm.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about ghost hunting, okay,
Right.
and the booze side of it. No offense. I'm talking about like UFOs, aliens, cryptids.
Yep. Agreed.
It can't let you know that these things are real, even though you've seen it right in front of your face.
Yeah.
When I was dating my wife, we had Giant Stadium fly over my car, and we watched this for a good 3 minutes. It was huge, and she's hanging out the moonroof like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Stop the car, Brian! Stop the car, Brian!" And for some reason, I didn't. I think that was
Hmm.
purposely done, so that because if I stopped the car, I think there would have been a bigger problem.
Yeah.
But to this day, I said, "You remember when you saw the UFO?" She goes, "Oh no, that was a weather balloon." She
Hmm.
does not want to believe any of this stuff.
It was a
Right.
satellite.
But that was a weather balloon. I'm like, well, that was a big ass weather balloon.
Yeah.
Driving over
I,
the
I got
car.
I got to tell you, the alien stuff. That honestly, and I said this on BMR show today. That stuff scares me. It truly does because, like, the alien abductions and stuff. You don't know where you're going or what they're doing with you. With at least a dogman, they're going to kill you. A demonic entity. I know people who know people. I can get help for that. The alien thing. You just can't run away from that.
Well,
Mhm.
I've been doing the research, boots on the ground for aliens, UFOs.
Hmm.
There's actually somebody on my friends list that actually is a I'll say he's an alien.
Wow.
Um, and definitely we'll call him half breed. I don't even call him by his name anymore. I just call him ET.
Wow.
Just that I can't. I don't reveal that. There's a confidentiality portion of it, but the
Sure.
person is legit.
Hmm.
But you're right about this, and something I've learned, and I'm sorry, this is just from my own personal research here.
Yeah.
Okay, there is no galactic federation. There's no like group of multiple aliens that you would see in Star Trek
Yeah.
deciding whether they want Chinese or pizza that day before they decide what they want to do with the world. 99.99% of these beings, these races
Mhm.
of different species, if you'd like,
Right.
they have an agenda, and it's not about right or wrong. They have an agenda, and their
Yeah.
agenda, in my opinion, is well, some of them are just totally dominating, like a reptilian type,
Mhm.
which look like the reptiles. They
Yeah.
really smart and they don't like us and they can destroy us. But there are others that saying, nope, we're not going to allow that to happen. Not because they're protecting us as much as they need our DNA
Gotcha.
to use it as a base to
Mhm.
rebuild their race of or their species, which has
Yeah.
been depleted. So that's what the race is. That's why people here on Earth,
Wow.
we have the building blocks of life for most species, and they're trying to rebuild them. That's why you're getting abductees,
Gotcha.
mixes, and what have you. Now, there's other ones that, and I'm one of the few people that will discuss this. Um, there are definitely experimentations. There's
Mhm.
definitely hybridization and mixing between alien and human. Their eggs taken, their sperm taken.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Their offspring bred, and then if you remember your bio classes enough, back in the day. If you have an alien and a human and they mate, the possibilities is you'll get a box of what you can get.
Right.
Alien, human, alien, human. Okay.
Mhm.
And if you keep breeding and breeding, eventually you're going to get the alien. The human will be little bits and pieces within the alien, but basically you're getting what you want. So that's why the program's been going on for millions of years
Wow.
here on this earth.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also with resources, and there's some aliens or we're going to say race species. We'll use species because race, when you say that word, people think differently. They have other agenda.
Yeah.
They're very domineering. There's a lot of fighting between different races.
Yeah.
And but I just up until a certain point in 2015, up until 2015, from when I started, 2015, I've interviewed people that have been multiple abductees, very uncomfortable. Some
Wow.
people are, after a while, what happens is once you start getting more comfortable with it, and they will slowly work with you to explain what they're doing. And there's a reason why they chose you. It has nothing to do with what they call RH negative or positive.
Right. I
Not
know
that
that's been
factor.
theories. Yes.
Everybody says, oh, you must be RH negative. Nope. I don't think it's that. I think it's blood type. And it depends on, and the more rare your blood type is, I guarantee you that the majority of people abducted are O negative, maybe A. And yeah, there are going to be a couple in between there because they want to know what's going on with that. But and some people could lean towards that in the reproductive stage, and that's very important.
Well,
So
Krista,
that's just my 2 cents. Yes,
Brian, hold on just a second. We've got 20 seconds left till break time.
sure.
Yes.
I'll continue.
Okay. When we come back, guys, we will finish this conversation. This is very intriguing because like I said, they scare me, and we can definitely talk more about that. And
Sure.
and I want to talk a little bit about your theories on UFO and cryptid together. About being intertwined, and connected. So
sure.
So everybody, hang tight with us, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning back and staying with us. I do want to answer a really quick question, though.
Sure.
Nighthawk says, "Hey, Kristen, Brandy, why do you get a 5-minute break? LOL." Wish I could. Well, we have the radio stations we have to say goodbye to, so that's why we take the 5-minute break. So it's kind of nice too to refill your drink and use the restroom and that good stuff. So that's why, William.
Yeah, and Randy, bless his heart, if you're listening, he says we don't have to. He can edit around it, and we don't have to take that 5-minute break. But I like it. I like that 5-minute break. I have to go refresh my drink, and got to stop with the coffee, and
got to get your drink back.
We're spoiled.
That's right. Absolutely.
It's a tad bit.
So, Bryan, I want to start out. I want to start out going back to Stonehenge.
Okay.
Now, there is some speculation that this is older than what we may think it is. That it's actually alien, life forms that had made that. Just as speculation says that pyramids were made by aliens. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that aliens made pyramids and possibly Stonehenge, maybe Easter Island? Who knows?
Yeah.
Easter Island's there's a great graphic of the heads of Easter Island going through the earth, and it connects to Stonehenge coming out like the feet or whatever it is. Gotcha. I don't know. I mean, I thoroughly believe that where we are right now in civilization, this isn't the first time we've been this sophisticated. I think we've had many times when we've gotten to a certain point and we've done something stupid and destroyed everything, and they rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt. They're finding right now in the fossil records, they're finding so many different objects that shouldn't be found, that things that look like cell phones that are carbon dated 10,000 years earlier.
Wow.
So I think there's I don't know if it's aliens as much. One theory, I'll go back way back when. One of my theories is, and unfortunately, I can't prove these things just yet.
Sure.
But the story of Atlantis,
right?
So Atlantis it was a society with concentric rings, different rings with water in between them, and it just erupted. There was supposedly a volcano, and it sank into the sea or whatever. But here's the interesting. So there's several different locations that Atlantis has been in. Okay, within a certain area, all water based.
Gotcha.
And no one could really put their finger on it. And I'm proposing because the reports of the beings that were Atlantean came out, and they looked a little bit like humans, but there was like more webbing through their fingers. There was something different about them. Taller, sorry, I keep hitting my mic, and different about them. And I was thinking about this for a while. I was having a couple of discussions with a couple of people that really into Atlantis, and I said, well, what if Atlantis was actually a submersible UFO, an underwater UFO, an object that comes from the sea? It rises, right? And they're having an interaction, be it a specific renegade portion of some kind of alien race or species, and they're giving them too much knowledge. And because they were giving them too much knowledge, they were forced to abandon that. So when they initiated their craft up again, you know, the rockets, the fire coming out, you know, the spectacle, and it moves, and then they submerge themselves, and then they reappear elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Hence why you're getting multiple reports in different locations for them. Why they would not come back, it could have been that they were finally stopped by whoever the powers that be for them said, no, you're doing this too much. You're interfering in, you know, the natural progression, and we can't allow this to happen, because the technology and what's been talked about Atlantis so far, it's far exceeds what they should have been back then. Case in point with Stonehenge. Now, I don't know if Stonehenge, I think it's a lot older than they're dating it to, and they don't want to go into the details of it, but I still believe that it was a portal, because there are other locations, and there's certain symbols found on these locations. It looks like a concentric spiral, like you were drawing, like you know, those old mazes that you used to do, like, you know, when you go to the coffee shop with the folks or whatever. Very similar symbolism near areas that had these sacred sites, we would call them, like a Stonehenge, or I forgot the name of the location in Peru. It's a gate. It looks like a rock, but there's a doorway in there. And that doorway is supposed to open up and be a portal. They've reports from the indigenous of that part of Peru that said beings would come out of it and beings would go through it again, and then it would become rock. So I think some of these locations, there may have been alien interactions with the building of these individuals, or, you know, but right now we're never going to know the truth, because I don't think they'd allow that to come out. And that's the problem with the whole thing. It's that's why all of us that are listeners to these programs, all of us, because there's a lot of people, I see a lot of people, they're investigators. I know people that go out and they go on these hunts themselves. We're going to be the ones that actually come up with the evidence. And there's so many people interested in this subject, and so, you know, into it, that we don't care what the powers that be say. We don't care what the scientists say anymore. Okay. The fact of the matter is they've brutally lied to everybody. They've been lying to everybody for a long time, and people are kind of fed up, and they don't need that. So someone will go out and they're finding new skeletons that are 30 feet long, you know, giants,
right?
And they're not allowing the Smithsonian to take them and destroy them anymore. And images are coming out. I mean, you look like a mouse compared to what these things are. So I don't think people are doing it just for a tourist attraction. They're literally uncovering these things. So I think there's, you know, there could be an alien connection there. There was a question in the chat, though, what my opinion is of the quid pro quo between the aliens and humans. And yes, I do believe there was an agreement made. Yeah, there's my quid pro.
I had started.
Yep. And yes, I do believe that there was an agreement way back when, Eisenhower, and, you know, after Roswell, and we agreed, you give us technology and we'll allow you to do certain things. You can do your things, but it has to be limited to whatever. And the aliens don't care. They're getting what they want. It's made it a little bit easier for them to do what they want. And it was good for us. I'm talking about us being Americans versus the other nations who are now playing catch up. Because we were able to start reverse engineering things. But here's the thing, right? So if I give you a Model T and you had no cars whatsoever in your lifetime, like, what is this? Oh, it's a Model T. It'll take you to point A, point B really quick.
Right.
And you get in it, you drive in it, like, that's really cool. Yeah, but you don't realize I have a Lamborghini. I have a 2023 Lamborghini, and I'm going to blow your doors off with it.
Right.
That's the difference. Like, we're getting their junk. But in the process of getting their junk, we're able to start reverse engineering things. And there's a many people report seeing a triangle, flying triangle, black triangle usually. And my personal opinion, it's the TR3B, which is a secret
Mhm.
government project. You can look it up. There are some documents, and it's a anti-gravity craft UFO. And the U.S. government has been using this technology they've been reverse engineering from captured aircraft and made their own aircraft. They also have the ability, and this is where it gets really strange because they do abduct people as well to keep that UFO narrative going for whatever their purpose is.
Mhm.
We have the ability to create extraterrestrial biological entities, also known as little grays. The little
Yeah.
grays are basically clones. They're not, you would like you're amazed, like, ooh, these are so cool, like ET. No, ET's got the IQ of a 3-year-old,
Wow.
and they're worker bees. And 99% of these these craft that crash or have accidents, they're all being driven by these little ETs, these little
Right.
extraterrestrials. But we can now clone them, and we use their ability and what they can do to
Mhm.
continue to abduct people for our own research and for our own uses. Most
Right.
likely, in my opinion, very nefarious. It's
Mhm.
not a good thing.
Right.
I know
Do you
several,
believe that when people are abducted, do you believe some are kept while others are brought back?
yes, I do believe. Here's where it gets a little bit weird. So one of the things that I was leading up to that most people don't talk about, I don't know if you remember in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, there's a lot of cattle mutilations. And what they were finding, these cattles with their eyes, it's like there's no blood. They were surgically removed. The anus is, it's the weirdest
Mhm.
thing. So um, part of that is that was done by these aliens, and it was done purposely. You go out, and this is their food,
Mhm. Yeah.
and the way they eat, the way grays eat, they don't eat through your mouth. They have these like pores on their skin, and they literally take the
Mhm.
material, that the flesh, the blood, the whatever it is, the nutrients, they rub it on their skin, and it gets absorbed that way.
Wow.
But they do have a taste for
Mhm.
human flesh. Some of them do.
Oh,
And
right.
there's also human mutilations, and no one really talks about it that much.
Yeah, I've
And
never heard of the human.
well,
And
it's think cow mutilations, but on human beings, and that happens quite often.
yeah.
And from my own personal research and interviewing a bunch of different people, what happens is every once in a while these extraterrestrials that we have or we're working with or create, they go off the ranch and they go shopping for food. That's
Mhm.
their McDonald's, and then they have to go, find these extraterrestrials and eliminate them because you can't continue to have this.
Yeah.
But I do believe also that there's a couple different things that takes place. If somebody's being rejected by the ETs, the
Mhm.
extraterrestrials, it may be too much of a hassle for them, so they'll just either kill them, get rid of them, get rid of the bodies, or turn them whatever they're going to use them for. But they're not going to return them. There are some individuals that, if they're so mentally able to deal with what's taking place, and eventually over time you kind of
Mhm.
get used to it, and you slowly get to remember things.
Sure.
There are agreements where they will go and they'll stay with the craft, and they don't
Wow.
want to go back, and they want to experience the new worlds and what have you. And some of them just get to live, on the ships.
Yeah.
um and you got to understand, it's not just extraterrestrials, not of this planet, of different galaxies.
Mhm.
Interdimensionals, there's ultra terrestrials, there's um inner earth. There's a whole different variety of different types of beings out there that come to this planet and visit and
Yeah.
are interacting. So yeah,
What
it's not.
what you had said earlier, about being like rejected. Now,
Yeah.
could this be associated with people just experiencing time loss? Just
um Time, no, time loss is usually, in my opinion, depending on the time, and I can go into some time loss in 1 second. That's an abduction.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
not being rejected. That's actually an abduction, and
Okay.
most people don't get it because they're pretty clever at how they do things. And
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they're opportunists too. So if you're just if I stopped that car, I'm pretty sure we would have been taken.
Wow.
I'm almost 99% positive.
Wow.
And it may not have been a good experience.
Sure.
Okay. Maybe I wouldn't have married my wife at that point. Okay, maybe. Uh, sorry, honey. Sorry for the bad date. Sorry for getting abducted. You said bought you dinner. But what happens is people they usually come at night to take the chosen subject.
Sure.
And one of the reasons why 99.9% of the time the little grays are there, they have the ability, and we also have the ability, we just haven't mastered or been able to do it. We're all using a certain percentage of our brains, but they can manipulate physical matter. So when they pull somebody out of a house, they don't just they don't unlock the door. They go through the door. They will
Right.
go through the wall. They know how to manipulate that space. And once we can do that, and I'm sure the government can do that, you can travel from point A to point B in an instant.
Wow.
Understand? So
Yeah.
if you have the mindset of like, well, I want to go into the bank, you literally could go into a bank if you had the ability, go into the vault, take your money, manipulate the money, pull it out, and no one would know you were there. Just using that as an example. Okay. So I had 2 times in my life, I had in the 40 plus years, missing time. One is in 2015. I had it with Al, myself, and a friend of ours, Bill. We're missing time for about 2 hours. And thoroughly believe we got abducted. Okay. First thing. The second time was we moved from New York down to Florida, and we wouldn't fly. It was during the sea event. We'll just use that term. So I was driving. So I had a new car. We'll drive, and we usually stopped. We first started stopping from New York to Fayetteville. We thought, oh, that would be a good stop. It's a long trip. Okay,
Mhm.
but we went an hour further to Florence, South Carolina, to make that stop, sleep over for a little bit, and then continue on. So from Fayetteville to Florence is an hour. And it just
Yeah.
so happened that I'm driving down 95 and we get towards Fayetteville and it's like, I don't know, like 11:30ish. They
Yeah.
shut down 95. I've never heard of this before. Like they shut down a major interstate.
Yeah,
So they
they
didn't
don't
even,
do that.
no, they do because they were doing construction on it. But
Mhm.
and it was kind of late, not that much traffic. So I was at Fayetteville. I use Waze, tell me where the police are, whatever when I'm driving. So in the car is my wife, my 2 daughters, and they're kind of passed out.
Yeah.
So it says detour, road closed. We're going to get off. So my Waze started giving me the detour. And we get off actually the exit I normally would have gotten off for the hotel that was there. And we continue further on to a place called a Route 301, which kind of parallels 95. It's a country road.
Yeah.
I spent most of my summers in sleepaway camp thanks to my mother being the head counselor over this. So I'm used to, these. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. This is like
Mhm.
country road. And I used to drive down the roads with my
Sure.
buddies, shut the lights off when the moon's up and you can see
Mhm.
perfectly. You live in the country, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're city folk, you're not going to get it.
Right.
But,
Right. I agree.
yeah, so we're driving, and I've noticed as we're getting off, I noticed this really weird light that was in the sky. It was turning red, orange, green, blue, purple, white. I'm like, ooh, that looks very interesting. And as we get off the exit, I get onto 301. Now it's about a quarter to 12, and I hadn't had a cigarette at that time, so I said, you know what, I'm going to pull over. I'm going to have a cigarette. I'm an hour away from whatever, but I want to check out this
Mhm.
light. So I shut the interior light off the car. Everybody's passed out sleeping. Pull over, open the door, get out, and I'm smoking a cigarette outside the car, and I'm watching this light. It's turning red, orange, green, purple, blue, burst white. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then it's kind of getting bigger. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, watching it move, and it's doing
Mhm.
this like little vibration, but also a spin.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I wish I had my scope. I have a psionic scope for night, and I would
Mhm.
have been videotaping it, but I didn't. And it started coming closer, and it started bursting. Oh, this is getting even better, right? Smelling a cigarette. and I'm watching, and it kind of shines down a burst of light. It gets closer. Now, the back of my head, being the investigator, is I know I'm right next to Fort Bragg. Okay, major military base for the U.S. military. Very well could have been a drone, right? I'm like, maybe it's a drone, whatever. Get the little bright light, it kind of bursts out. Like, that's pretty cool. It could have been like a turn on a helicopter if you've been in the military, whatever. The next thing I know, I'm in my car, and I'm kind of like, I'm waking up, like, how the hell did I get in my car?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. The car's still running. I look on my Waze, and it says, do you want to continue? That's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think I was there that long. I said, yeah, continue. Now, I was no more, it was just before 12 midnight. Okay. I should be arriving in Florence by 1 a.m. Simple math. I go on there, and it says, okay, resume. I put the car in gear, and it, as I'm driving for a couple of seconds, I look, you'll arrive at 4 a.m. Pull the car back over.
Wow.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm starting to rack my brain, like, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
I was only outside 15 minutes. How did I get in the car? And also, I had a headache at that point. My neck and my head hurt. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure it out. I just drove. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I missed the time. I don't know. We pull up. It's 4 a.m. and I go and get my hotel. My wife wakes up, and the kids wake up, and they're all complaining about headaches. Now, you have to understand something. My wife doesn't complain, and none of my girls complain whatsoever. They just don't complain. My oldest is like a freaking horse. She just, it doesn't matter. Very rarely will she ever complain about anything. Mm-hmm. And they're all like, oh, my head hurts or whatever. I said, oh, you're probably pricking your neck. Go in the hotel. We go to sleep. We don't sleep that long. We get up early because they want to get an early start.
Sure.
And we go downstairs to have breakfast. And she goes, what took you so long? I said, well, they shut the highway down. I can't explain to my wife at this point, especially in front of my kids. We were abducted for 3 hours.
Wow.
We have missing time for 3 hours, honey. You know what that means?
Wow.
And that you're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, we have missing time. So I'm kind of like, I don't know how to explain this, so I just keep it quiet. So my youngest is trying to, get dressed. He goes, Dad, can you help me? And while this took place, I'm looking, and not to peer at my kids. I don't, I'm looking literally for marks.
Sure.
I went into the bathroom, and I started looking, and I looked at my wife. And like, where does it hurt? Like whatever, looking for any type of marks or indentations, classic abduction type of thing. They do work on you. And then I noticed my youngest, and on the bed is there's this spot of blood. And I'm like, oh, what the heck going on there? So she goes, can you help me with my shirt on? And I go to help her with her, put her, take her pajamas off, put her shirt on, and right over her left wing, we'll call it the shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm.
There's an indentation, like a BB mark, like she was resting on a BB. And I'm looking. She goes, Dad, what's that? And I start, touching that. Does that hurt? No. What's there? I said, oh, nothing. You must have been resting on something. My wife said, what's going on? What like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just had a little mark there. It's just, seeing. So I have a little bit of blood on the sheet, roughly where it would have been for her mark. So I'm like, okay, this is getting really sucko, because it's one thing you can take me. You can take my wife. We're adults. Don't mess with my kids.
Right.
Don't mess with my children whatsoever. So I said, okay, I got to go figure this out. I got to work this out, and I got to drive and do this. I got to concentrate on one thing. We go down to Florida, and we're down there for a couple of days because we want to look at the house we're buying, make sure everything's set up. And we're buying in a community where actually someone we know actually lives in the community. So we said, oh, well, stop by. So while we were down there, all the time, I kind of get ringing in my ear, and it's a high-pitched ring. And some people say, oh, when you have ringing in your ear, someone's talking to you, talking about you, right? Depending on what it is. Now, this was totally different. It was just like I can't explain the ringing, but every time I get it now, I just look straight up.
Yeah.
I just have to look up. And I see the same objects all the time. It's turning red, green, orange, blue, purple. It's in the sky, even during the day. So we get over to the to where they live, and they still have an open area that they haven't built the homes yet. We live in a
Yeah.
community, I guess. And it's almost, the sun's kind of setting. Immediately get the ringing in my ear, and I just look up, and lo and behold, right over there, and it's pretty close, and it's doing the shimmer and the spin. Is an object, red, orange, green, blue, purple, blue, burst. I'm like,
Wow.
and I start saying in my mind's eye, like, I got you, I got you, I see you,
Mhm.
I see you, and I said in my head, like, don't touch my kids ever again. Just
Right.
what you want, don't touch the kids, whatever. So that was that moment. We
If
come
you
back,
don't mind me asking, how old were your children at that time?
just a year ago. So one
Oh,
was
geez.
10
Okay.
and the other was
Okay.
14.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's very interesting is we're all O blood types.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Two
am
O
too.
plus, two
That's
O
kind of
negative.
creepy. That
Yeah.
scares me because I am too.
Yeah. Well, look, you may have been abducted, but you haven't remembered it, so that's all good.
Yeah, I don't believe I have.
Yeah, I didn't believe I had either, but so after the experience, I don't say a word. Life goes on,
Yeah.
and we go back up to New York, and we get there, and it's one of those days where it's like we get there on a Thursday. We're going to meet one of my wife's friends on a Friday at her and her daughter. I said, let's go out to lunch. We go out to lunch, and I said, okay, I'm going to go pay the check. It was one of those nice days where it's still like summery and stuff. So I go inside to pay the check at this one place, very, very crowded. And I come back out, and there's my wife holding my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's like a horse,
Mhm.
in like health and whatever. And I'm like, and she's upset. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, she had a nosebleed. Daughter doesn't have a nosebleed. Like, she had a what?
Oh man.
She had a nosebleed. And I said, oh, okay. You okay? Yeah, okay. And she goes, this came out of her nose. And my hand to God, it was about half of this, right? Yep. It
Oh
was
my
about
gosh.
half of this and a little, not as thick as this, but close to being a little bit thinner than this. Sorry. Right. This is one of those
Wow.
tens unit pads, about the thickness of a tens unit pad. And I go,
Wow.
oh, let me take that from you. Now, this is because of the sea. I carried sandwich bags on me to put them inside out and open doors with. They kept running out of milk. So this is the investigator. I've got it. I grab I grab it. I stick it in one of these things, and I kind of seal out all the air in it. My idea is I know somebody does DNA testing for a university down in the city.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this to him. And for some reason, I've had it. Every time I thought about it, it's almost as if something else would come up and I distract me from it. Until the point where it never got to anybody from it. Okay. So that was my missing time for that time. Now we moved into this new house, and here's where we're going to get really weird. And yes, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So, and I don't care. This is probably October, November this year. And for a while there, I would sit up. I always stay up later and just have this feeling I'm being watched all the time. And I'm sitting there, and you can see out to the backyard of my place now. And I'm waiting for that creature to pop up and just do that peek through the alien peek through the window that most people have seen on some slides. And I just get this feeling. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed. So I go to bed, and then I wake up maybe 12 o'clock. I wake up about 3:34 in the morning. And I'm going to be brutally honest. This is very bizarre, but I'm not feeling very well. And I have a lot of pain in my rear. Like I just had a colonoscopy. And
Wow.
I'm like, what the heck? I mean, like really bad. And I'm looking at him like, I mean, she may hate me. Maybe she did something to me while I was sleeping. So I said, you know what? I was just so uncomfortable and I couldn't lie down anymore. Our room's on the first floor. I got out of the bed and I said, I'm just going to go sit down on the sofa. I'm sitting on the sofa. As I'm sitting down, my youngest comes down, who's now still 10 years old, and scares the hell out of me. I'm not expecting her to be down there. And she's like, what are you doing up? She goes, I saw the aliens and the lights out my window, and I grabbed these beads, and
Oh
I
my
was going to
gosh.
whip them with it. And I said, "You saw the aliens?" Yes, I saw these lights. I said, "No, there's no aliens, honey." Now my mind is, I'm saying there's no aliens, honey, and I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing, which
Right.
I see. This is the part of abduct. I don't want to know what you want to do with me, okay? But to get sperm out of men, they put something in a certain location that triggers the sperm to come out. Just go look it up. Okay. There's a movie called Van Wilder. Two fingers. Okay. So and it just so happens that this is happening the exact same night where my daughter says that she's seen aliens out her window. And so I said, she goes, "Can I stay down here with you?" I said, "Yeah, you can stay with me." And from that moment, I was just up the whole night, just looking back and forth.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think they came back, and I think they did things to me that I really didn't want to have happen. But yes, it did work. The only thing I want out of this whole thing is if I do have alien children someplace, and I hope it's like 20 of them, I want their social security numbers so I can claim them on my taxes. But other than that, I do not want to meet them.
Right. Can't say I blame you.
So that's
Absolutely.
2 missing time, that one experience with that, a very uncomfortable feeling. I don't really want any more, although lately I'm getting the high pitch ringing again. So I think there's going to be another either sighting or visitation. But the best part is my wife gets up earlier than everybody to get our kids. For some reason, they have to be at the bus at 6:00 in the morning when the moon's still, I'm like,
Right. I have one like that too.
yeah, like who the hell is learning? Who cares about school at this point? But she said, I was going there and I saw this really weird craft and it didn't look like anything. I said, well, describe it. Did it look like a row of beads? Because a lot of people see a straight line in the sky and it looks like a row of beads. That's Starlink being put up.
Yeah.
A lot of people misinterpret Starlink as a UFO, but it's not. It's Starlink. It's Elon Musk's, satellite stuff.
Right.
She goes, no, this was totally different. It kind of like, it had a really weird shape on it. And it just didn't, it was flying and it was moving really quick and then it disappeared. But it was faster than anything I've ever seen in my life. I said, well, you saw a UFO? She goes, no, I didn't see a UFO. I'm like, you just described a UFO. When are you going to admit that these things are here? But yeah, there's a lot of sightings down here. And it's funny in this new community that you get people like they know that I do this and they'll come up to me. I saw something really strange the other day. Yeah, I could have baby Bryan everywhere. Thank you. Okay.
Well, what are your thoughts on like aliens, ghosts, cryptids all being intertwined? And I ask this because I was that flesh and blood girl. That's what they were. That was it. They were flesh and blood, the cryptids. However, when I went to Land Between the Lakes and Brandy was there and several people in chat were there with us, we seen what looked like solid figures peeking in and out of trees. However, and that was 100% flesh and blood to me. However, after that, we started seeing these orbs, and it wasn't just one of us would see it. Several of us seen these at the same time. They were different colors and different sizes. I can't explain that.
Oh, I can. I started out as flesh and blood myself. I thought Gigantopithecus for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And this also partially applies for the dogman creature as well, cryptid. But I'm kind of just going to talk Bigfoot right now. We had an encounter in 2015 where I had the missing time. The first encounter was an encounter with a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And we were 2 miles into this lake and pitch black. And the area that we could have gone in was a goat trail. You couldn't get through it. You would have killed yourself. Okay. The other area would have taken, it's 2 miles to get to the other side of the lake.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, you have to walk a mile to get out of this area. We had a Bigfoot encounter, and this thing was probably no more than 15 feet from us. In the pitch black, you can feel the weight. I always use the example, if you've ever been to a country circus and you feel the elephants when they walk, or you go to those events where they do tractor pulls and all this other crazy stuff with a whole bunch of horses. You can feel the ground move.
Yeah.
It's moving. This thing was ginormous. And what happened was there was 3 of us, me, Al, and Bill, and it went whoop, whoop, and the third whoop, and not missing a beat, boom, boom, boom. It's 2 miles down.
Wow.
And again, I studied physics just at the beginning of string theory when quantum stuff's coming out. And the only way I can describe it is this creature went from point A, which is about 20 feet from me, to 2 miles down the road in a split second. And the only way you can do that is if you have the ability to manipulate and create a portal. And in order to create a portal, in order to move your body from one point, then you have to be able to manipulate your matter and your material. We're all made up of atoms and matter and material, right?
Right.
So I think Bigfoot is a flesh. It can be flesh and blood when it wants to, and it can be interdimensional when it wants to. And here's the thing: this is the science portion of it. When energy and matter is converted to other energy, it changes its form from physical. If you go from whatever electric to plasma to something else,
right?
One, you use much more energy in the process. So this is why whenever you get Bigfoot photos, they hear my battery just drained. Right. And then you see like a Bigfoot, or then you see an orb. Okay, that's why. So the Bigfoot is moving from the physical flesh and blood into a different form, which is more electronic, which is the orb. That's why you're seeing different orbs in different sizes, because there's multiple Bigfoots doing it. It's changing its matter, and then eventually it'll pop and it'll change into an interdimensional and be able to walk out, go where it wants. There's plenty of stories of these creatures tracking these Bigfoots. They track, and then the tracks stop.
Wow.
And again, why would they stop? Now, some people are saying, "Oh, yeah, they're aliens. They're pets for aliens." No, they're not. They're interdimensional beings that can do that, just like aliens can do that. The difference with ghosts, though, when you're talking paranormal ghosts, so what happens is, again, we're all energy. You just created. So we have this shell here, but when we die, our energy or soul, whatever, goes back into the source. Okay. Some people don't go back up. They get stuck between earth and heaven, the source, that ether there. That's where your ghosts live. And when you're interdimensional and you vibrate at a higher frequency because you're using more of your abilities, you're able to see each other. So the aliens, in the process of traveling the interdimensional highway to go point A to point B, see the Bigfoot traveling, just like when I used to go into Grand Central Station from where I lived in the Bronx to take the train to work. There's like 47 tracks there. You see, sometimes you see every morning the same people getting off that train. Oh, I know that guy goes to Connecticut. That guy goes to, same thing. But the difference is the ETs abduct everybody. They've even abduct Bigfoot, they abduct Dogman, whatever they can. If they want to know why you can go interdimensional too. So sometimes you'll see them on the craft, and that's the connection right there. Also, some species of aliens look like Bigfoot. They're not Bigfoot. They're smaller. There's some smaller ones that are like 4 feet tall. There's some ones that look like Wookiees. So that's the whole Bigfoot connection there. They don't look exactly like Bigfoot, but it's very similar to them.
Okay, wow. I want to just throw out a question. I know it has nothing to do with Bigfoot or anything, but so you were talking about your family having this alien encounter just a year ago.
Yes.
Now, due to your recent health issues and how superb you're getting over it, do you think that might have had something to do with it? And now that you're experiencing some signs that they might come visit again, do you think they may be coming to check on your progress?
It's very interesting. So there's a lot going on with that, because I told Krista and Brandy prior to this that I had a heart attack on March 2nd. I had a widowmaker, right? Wasn't planned. It was on the bucket list, but way down the list. It's like
Right.
at the bottom, like I'm not even close to that age yet, but whatever.
It's like something we weren't. Yeah, no, we weren't thinking that. No.
Right. So the same day in the morning, my cousin's daughter gave birth to their first child at 10:38 a.m. Beautiful baby girl. God bless them, whatever. And unfortunately, their grandfather, my uncle, passed away months earlier, and everybody was upset. And he was very close to this specific grandchild, just like he's close to my kids. So I just said, one of my cousins said, do you, my dad would have been over the moon if he was here. I said, well, what makes you think he isn't there? Because I thoroughly believe that when you die, you don't die. You're there. There's a whole process. We can get into the death process of what transpires in the first 3 days, 3 to 7 days after you die. There's certain things, and there's different levels of heaven, just like Dante's hell.
Yeah.
And that's a different, but so 10:38 in the morning, Claire was born, and a beautiful kid. Can't be happy, happy for these kids are great. My cousin's kids are awesome. I have a heart attack at 9:00 at night. Damn Rangers lost the damn hockey game. I was watching a hockey game. They lost, the freaking Rangers. People like, did you have it because of the game? I'm like, no, but they should have won. Going through this whole thing. And I have first aid experience in lifeguarding. I was a lifeguard at one point. So does my wife, and so does my oldest daughter. She's trained as a lifeguard now. And I just do the 911. I called 911. Tremendous pain. I'm awake through the whole process. They don't drug me up at all. They just give me something to get rid of nausea, and that's it. You could have cut my chest. You could cut me with a knife from my throat down to the bottom of my stomach, and it would have felt better than what I was feeling. So you go through the whole process, and they put stents in. And I prayed to everybody. I prayed to Jesus, to God, to Buddha, to Michael, to Raphael, you name it. I called to my father for help. I called to my uncle. Same uncle, whose great granddaughter was being born, whatever. And I didn't lose consciousness the whole thing. So I was explaining to them, I'm talking to my doctors. I said, they go, do you have any heart problems? I said, no, I have a right branch problem, but we did a nuclear stress test and they said nothing's wrong with it. Everything looked good. I'm like, okay, whatever. So they put a stent in, immediate relief, feel like $1 million, and they're wheeling me out on this gurney. And my wife's there with a neighbor friend of ours who was great. And the doctor was on the right side. And they said, Bryan, this is the doctor that saved your life. So he goes, I was just explaining to your wife that, I've heard about this with the right branch, but I've never seen it before until now. I said, what happened? He goes, the right branch decided to grow its own bypass.
Wow. That's amazing.
Okay, so my heart on the right side, it said no. We're gonna do our own surgery. And what happens is it starts growing its own bypass, and connects into your heart and opens it up to make the heart work properly.
Yeah.
And and without missing a beat, I go, must be those alien implants. And the doctor just looks at me like, is he on drugs? And my wife's like, no, that's Bryan. He's fine now.
Yeah.
But that has been I think it's a little bit more divine than that, but I totally would agree with you on that question, whether something was done or not. And I think they know, because when you're taken, it's not just it isn't just that they're taking you and they're taking your sperm and your eggs and whatever and doing tests on you like Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom way back when, and they're like taking out a gazelle at 100 yards. Okay, go get some sperm, tag them and bag them. They are tagging you. You are getting a tracker and a tracer. That's why some people have those little marks there. And I thoroughly believe they keep tabs on everybody that they've taken. Yeah. And there may have been something that transpired within them or the ship that they may have put in me that said beep, 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 beep. This one's, we're having a problem with this one. Yeah. So I think they want to come back, and that's possible. But I also think there was a divine influence in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt, there's a bunch of people that I talked to, and I thank them very much. I thank everybody very much. But I definitely felt like there was an energy healing sent my way. I literally felt like I felt energy. And I've talked to a couple of people, and I said, as soon as I heard that, I started sending you energy and trying to heal you. And I said, well, I felt it. And I literally felt it. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like take a 9-volt battery and touch it to your tongue.
Wow.
And you just, but a little bit more subtle than that. And you just, this calm washes over you. And it's kind of unnerving. I mean, there's a little bit of post-traumatic stress syndrome that goes, when
Right.
you just had a major thing, and I felt crappy doing it in front of my kids. But I heard the ringing this afternoon, and I'm like, okay, are you taking me to see my kids, or are you just checking the oil and under the hood for a while? And frankly, I don't want to know.
Right.
I don't really want to know. But I really wish they would like suck out a couple of pounds in the middle.
I hear you on that. We've got a lot of questions here.
I'm here for any questions you want.
Okay, well, we've got questions and comments, a little bit of both. So I'll kind of put them up. I just thought this was hilarious. Glenn says, need some blondes and booze after this crappy work day. You really need bongs and booze.
I agree with Glenn. Perfect. I thought it was when I first heard the show.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, blondes and booze? I mean, like, that's every night down here in Florida. No,
we're in Missouri. We're not Florida.
We're in Missouri?
We are in Missouri. Yep.
Nice. Be safe.
Made you wonder, though.
Yes. Yep. Okay. It says, now this has been going on for a while. I've been putting them on. So probably the first part of the show. But it says, has he messed around with oscillating tones, like one in one ear and one in the other?
Yes, I have.
Oscillating tones.
Something I didn't go into. I'm a remote viewer. I'm actually a very good one at that. And once you start flexing that third eye and you start doing stuff, other things start happening. And one of them that freaked me out is when my friend died. I discovered I had clair audio. I'm very that was really bizarre. Had to contact someone who I trust 100% with the psychic and intuitive stuff, and she's like, cool, you have clair audio. I'm like, no, it's not cool. I'm talking to a person
I don't
right
want
now.
it.
Yeah, no, it happens. But yes, I do mess around. I like tone is very, very important in this field. And if you're a ghost hunter or what have you, it's very important. And I would stick to the tones and oscillating tones based off the chakras.
Gotcha.
Keep it very simple and pure. And when you're playing with these things, and when you go hunting, when you go in the woods, the whole thing, I'm begging you. I don't care who you pray to them. Say prayers before you go. Sage your equipment. Sage yourselves. 100% before you go and when you come back, before you get in your car. And this way, keep it simple. And try. It's a lot of trial and error. It's very frustrating. You know, especially when you have kids or a life or work or whatever.
Absolutely.
Easier, like if you wanted the week off to conjure, like something in there, like, can you do my homework for me?
Right. Hellbent Holler made a comment, and it says, I think he was talking back to Letitia, but we are all building a stable community here. It's awesome to see the positive and supportive people naturally come together. Amen. And you know what? That is what we're about. We don't do the drama. We're friends with everybody. We just we promote everybody. We're all in this for the same reason. And Shane also says, Krista and Brandy always have such great and informative guests on, 100% like a group of friends, just talking about subjects that interest us and not feel like a job interview.
Yeah, that's what it should be. Good job, Shane. Good job. But he's right though. I mean, this is how we've always rolled. Bronxville Paranormal, even myself. We post raw evidence. We post all the raw footage because, frankly, I'm the one that listens to it first. I have to watch it. If you have 20 cameras and you film for 15 hours, 20 times 15, okay? It's a lot of stuff to look at. So when we post the raw footage, we do it because we want each one of you to become an investigator.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
And we're all about the love. We're all about promoting people. I don't attack people. I don't do any of that
we
stuff.
don't either. We don't either. We just, we're all in this to learn together. And, I can't say but Brandy and I both, I can speak for her on this. We don't get involved in the drama or anything like that, and there are a lot of people out there that are just strictly like flesh and blood, or they have different thoughts on what a demon is. You know what? At the end of the day, we're still friends, and that's the way
100%.
it should be.
We agree to disagree. We grew up at a different time, but you can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Okay. But my only comment to anybody just like, oh no, it's just flesh and blood. If you really want to investigate on a scientific side of it, I'm not saying I'm a scientist, but you always have to keep those other hypotheses available.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started off as flesh and blood.
Yep.
And things happened and they changed.
Yep.
And we reassess all the time. So don't dig your heels in just yet, but just keep that like, okay, maybe 1%.
Yep. Absolutely.
You'll be surprised.
It looks like Sue G says, do you think sleep paralysis has anything to do with abductions? Good question.
Oh, yeah.
They do kind of stop you, and they have the ability to kind of paralyze you.
Yeah.
So it's partially because of that, but it's also partially because when you sleep, your body actually it clears its mind of all the crap that we have to deal with during the day. So you're closer to the source or information, and you're very vulnerable while you sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Not only just by aliens, but other things.
Yeah. William Nighthawk asks, doesn't that sound like a science project building and wiping out over and over? I think it's when we were talking about Atlantis, I believe.
Yeah. No, I think, that's the whole point about it. That was when I proposed it, and one of these guys like studied the crap out of this in college, almost got his doctorate in Atlantis.
Right.
And how do you do that? And he goes, you have the best theory on this than anybody have ever heard before, because it explains a lot of it. Explains why it disappears. It sinks into the ocean, then it moves someplace else.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Next question is...
That was an ice cream. What would it? No.
Gene Hudson asks, I always wondered if the Stonehenge was for time travel. They also found a Stonehenge on the bottom of the Great Lakes.
Yes, because before it was Great Lakes, it wasn't a lake. It was on top of the land. And then, I really do believe it's for time travel. I believe there's a lot of portals around the country, especially in the U.S. We have a lot of these ancient mounds. And I'm working on a book with Ron Murphy that deals a bit with this stuff. But a lot of the ancient mounds have kind of all the elements you would need to do exactly like a time travel or portal type of thing.
Yeah.
If the sound portal theory works, it's actually so simple that if you understand the principles behind it, that you can do things. I mean, I thoroughly believe that you may have had alien interactions with some of the pyramids, but they were able to manipulate these huge stones because they used sound and vibration to move them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. Definitely
it
makes
was something. Who really knows? I mean, none of us were there, but
right.
I mean, that is a logical explanation. As many of the others, you just don't know.
We don't know. It's all hypothesis. Okay. So my hypothesis could differ from yours. It doesn't make me right and you wrong, or you right and me wrong. I work at these things, and some of the things I do, like part of the remote viewing thing, I try to actually go in and see these things in the process. Now, sometimes you're blocked from doing it. It's very weird how it works. During this whole sea event, initially the first 6 to 8 months, I was having a conversation with other people about it. It was very difficult to use your gifts and abilities. It's almost as if there was something out there blocking you from seeing what was really going on.
Yeah.
Just saying. But the case of like Coral Castle in Florida, these are huge like slabs of coral, thousands of pounds. And rumor has it there's certain like wires above copper, but what is copper good for? Sound transmitting sound from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you put sound or vibration in a certain area and it creates we've seen this. If you go on YouTube, you can see using sound waves, you could levitate objects.
Wow.
So heavy objects, and just touch them with a finger and they'll just start gliding. Something's going on there.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Next question. Nighthawk asks, Brian, did you hear that they found Atlantis in the Sahara Desert?
I did not hear about the Sahara Desert, but before Sahara was a desert, there was water there. So
Mhm.
it's very
It's
well could have
possible,
been.
isn't it?
Very well possible.
It's very interesting. A lot of these craft, if I go with the UFO theory alone,
Yeah.
if you've noticed that whenever there's going to be a natural disaster, there's a lot of UFO activities over it.
Yeah.
They know prior to it happening.
Yeah.
The reason why it's going to get into a little weird theory, but the reason why they know it's going to happen prior to it happening is because time is a human construct. There's no such thing in time in the universe. That's why the way the universe operates, past, present, future are all working at the same point. There's no past, there's no
Wow.
all happening at once. So if I have the ability to see past, present, future, the universe as it is, I know this is going to be a big volcano over here, and then a little bit down the way, I'm going to have this, and that, and whatever.
Mhm.
That's why you'll see them there. So Atlantis could have been, there, and they knew in advance that it was becoming a desert. So let's get out of here before we're exposed.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
James
Yeah.
Hudson asks, what do you think Roswell was really about?
Roswell. Yeah.
It 100% a crash of an alien crash, a recovery of bodies, and
Mhm.
that was the pretty much the start of when we started to try to back engineer these things, and we made an agreement with different types of grays and said, you'll give us this equipment and you can go do your thing, do the voodoo that you do so well. You're
Right.
limited to a certain point. That's what Roswell is. It's just a crash site. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like going out and going to the store and like, a lottery ticket, and you pick up someone else's lottery ticket. It's worth $2 million. It
Yeah.
was a jackpot. And
Right.
then once that happened, the military industrial, because you got to understand when this was taking place, World War II ish, right, atomic bomb, World War II. They knew that things were going to go down here, so they're coming to visit. And then if you get these IQ of 80 and lower driving their car to get here, there's
Mhm.
going to be crashes. That's what happened, and it was just an opportunity.
Right. Right.
Unlike like the current the mystery UFO balloons and stuff. No
Yeah.
offense, folks. Our technology that's been reverse engineered, we're about 150 years ahead of anybody else on this planet in the
Wow.
United States. At
Yeah.
least 150 years ahead. But we don't have the technology to shoot down these aliens.
Wow.
And
I
so
know.
don't believe that hype.
Right.
Yeah.
A Facebook user, and I'm sorry, Facebook user, can't see your name. It just says,
Yeah.
are crop circles still happening? You don't hear about them anymore.
Yes, crop circles are happening. There's crop circles, there's snow circles, there's sand circles. And it's not just one or the other. They are happening. There's used to be a website called Crop Circle Connector that had most, following the ones in the UK. I initially thought it was space graffiti, some kids tagging up on the side of a farm or whatever. But I think they are transmitting. Some of them are transmitting real information, and there are a lot of very smart scientists and people that are studying these things, and they do correlate to coronal mass ejections, celestial events upcoming. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there, so it could be an information tool and an easy way to get it done.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Gene Hudson asked, do you think aliens are in positions of power in our government?
Yes.
Short and sweet. Yes.
Reptilians for the most part.
Wow. That's
not, you're not the first person who I've heard say that.
Right.
Yep. Reptilians are
sneaky.
I don't know if we're going to be recorded on airwaves, but they're effing
If
assholes.
we lose y'all now, it's because
No, yeah, they are. They're. It's not a joke. They're really, really tall. They're very, very powerful. They can shapeshift, and we do have these individuals in our government globally too. See, this is the problem because while you see something, it's kind of like that V. Remember V, the old show? V,
yeah, I do.
Mhm.
think that, but like think someone who's like 8 to 9 feet tall, and
Yeah.
the reptilians want a totally different outcome of the whole thing. They want the planet, and there's a bunch of other species that are like, no, they ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, if you want to go into space and you want to get off this planet with a rocket, you have to get approval for it, because if you got out into space, you would actually see fleets of different ships all facing off with each other, keeping each
Wow.
other in check. It's like a giant chess set up there.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. Next question. Titan 70 asks, Bryan, your thoughts on why aliens and nefarious spirits contact at night mostly? Is there a connection pertaining to certain frequencies?
Well, like I said before, when you sleep and you release everything that kind of protects you or keeps your third eye calcified, like you're just talking about before, like, oh, I don't want to work this week and they want us to work harder. That stuff is preventing you from vibrating at a higher frequency level, right? So when you finally go to sleep, your true self is able to connect to source. And what happens is your defenses go down, especially if you're unaware that you're doing what you're doing. See, there's a difference. Like, I'll give you an example. There are dreams that we have in sleep, and then there are called experiences. Here's the difference, if you know.
Yeah.
A dream is like, I think there was a guy with a snake riding a pony, but I'm not sure. And he was roller skating with a monkey. You don't really remember it. And then you remember you were driving a red car with those really cool wheels on it. You were going 65 miles an hour. Then you picked me up at this gas station. But then when you get into the details, you weren't dreaming that. You were doing that. You just weren't doing it physically with your physical body, but you were experiencing everything you're experiencing. You connected to a certain point with each other, and it's happening. The reason, and when you do that and you're unaware of that, that's when you are most vulnerable. That's why they come at night. Usually around the 3 a.m. ish time, because that's when most people are really deep in that sleep, that REM sleep. And that's why they get you. Aliens just come there because it's less hassle to be viewed. If everybody's sleeping in their house and you have a huge craft above another person's house and everybody's sleeping, they're not going to see the huge craft above your house. Even though sometimes they light up the outside, it looks like it's light outside.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's frequencies, but I don't think frequency is involved in that one right there. It's just opportunity. Yeah.
Titan 70 says that could also explain the popping that's heard with dogmen also. And I believe that was when we were talking about portals.
Right. So what happens is, and a lot of times you'll hear there'll either be a pop or a flash. I don't have it on me. I've seen a series of dogman photos, really clear shot, blurry because it's changing. A bright flash like image where you see some of it on the outside, but like a flash went off, and then you see this like it changed total form, and then the third photo or fourth photo was like a blimp. Yeah, that's what's going on there. It's when you change energy, it expends so much money, so much energy to a certain point that it pops.
Right.
That'll happen in every stage of changing energy.
Right. I want to give a quick shout out to Titan 70. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Titan.
Thank you, Titan.
Titan says, wonderful visit and wonderful guest. Brandy,
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bryan, please come back and see us. Blessings on you all. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. He's going to have to come back because this is just one subject. This is just
we haven't even gotten everything I wanted to talk about.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Right.
We're 2 hours in and we're still on aliens.
Yeah. Just let me know when.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Jean says, I would like to see this guy and Jason have a conversation. She's talking about Jason McLean.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, that would be a good show.
that, yeah.
Have you both there because yeah,
Does he have a different opinion, or we just talk about something similar?
not really. He's a good guy. I
No,
think
no, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm just saying, like sometimes people are very. No offense, because Carlito's in the chat right now. I don't believe in flat Earth. Okay,
Right.
He
it's
doesn't
'cause I've
either.
remote viewed- I've seen the planet from the outside, and he's a diehard flat earther. So I just leave it alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. And we have one more question here.
yes.
And Jean asks again, Bryan, I was watching a speech that Hitler did in a history class, and as he spoke, his eyes would switch to reptile eyes. Everyone said I was nuts. Have you heard this?
Yes, I've heard it. I've actually seen this happen with another leader that used to be in this country that has an O in his name. And again, I've been doing this for a long, long time.
Wow.
And only recently have I started see. I think they're purposely slipping because they think they have control at this point. But
Right.
I watched a break in the action during like some emergency thing happened. You know, like that. You know, we go live to the White House, and he's sitting there and he's talking, and I'm sitting back going, oh, what does this idiot have to say?
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it. His eyes changed. I'm like, what? Stopped it. Well, I hit record so I can save it. It didn't save, but I rewound it and I played it slow, and his eyes went into slits. But also on that question, by the way, with the Hitler thing, when von Braun came here to the U.S. through Operation Paperclip, we took a lot of Nazi scientists. He's the responsible person for us being, going to the moon with rockets. They were this close, folks.
Wow.
Okay, totally different ballgame, this close.
Yeah.
He was interviewed. A reporter was interviewing him, and they went to lunch, and they said, "Listen, you were so close to winning this war. Where did you get this technology from? It was so far advanced than anybody else had." And von Braun said, "We got it from them."
Wow.
So, you want to talk about reptilians? This is why this is why species really don't like the reptilians.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going up on the 2-hour mark, but I will put this one up real quick. Country Boy Cryptids asks, when are you going to write a book, Bryan?
I'm actually doing it right now. There's a couple of different books. Yeah, I'm doing a generic paranormal, investigator type of guide thing.
Yeah.
I have a book that I've been writing for a bit about Bigfoot, and going to mention some dogmen in there, and I'm probably going to piss a hell of a lot of people off. And I'm not doing this intentionally to piss you off. This is, again, my theory and my hypothesis based on what's going on. But I think let it sink in, grok it, let it marinate for a little while. And I think when I propose what I propose, people be like, okay, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you're saying. It's like, do you think it's possible?
Yeah,
that's all. I'm not
be
trying to make you believe it. I'm just saying.
These videos are coming back now. I forgot his name. I think his name is Peter, and he's a dog handler out of New York State. He's the guy that shows the videos that his father killed a Sasquatch and a baby Sasquatch. And this is the head of the Sasquatch. And then he did something where he ate the penis of a Sasquatch. So people are like, oh my God, is this real? Like, this guy is batshit crazy.
Sounds like it. Absolutely sounds like it.
Look, there's some people you're going to meet in this world who are like, yeah, and you're like, okay, you're a legend in your own mind.
Yeah.
People you meet that are they got that Machiavellian glint in their eye. And you're like, yeah, okay, I got to go. I'll be back. They're nuts. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. We are actually coming up on we're past the 2-hour mark, and Brandy, unfortunately gets up at 3:00 in the morning to go to work.
I apologize.
No.
Are you in Central? Are you in Central time or Mountain or
Central? So it's 10 o'clock right now, my time.
Yeah, I know. God bless you.
Yeah. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have to call it a night. But I definitely want to have you back, Bryan, for sure.
It'd be
So
my pleasure.
hang out after, and then we'll find a date for you real quick.
You got it. Sounds like a plan.
Yep. We appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in, and this has been a great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And we've got a lot more stuff to talk about because, I mean, seriously, like I'm into the cryptids and I want to talk about the ghosts and I want to talk about it all with you. So
Yeah.
we
Yep.
definitely, yeah.
This might be like
It sounds like we need
multiple.
at least 2 more shows with
That's
you.
what I was gonna say.
It's
It's gonna be
fine.
multiple.
Right.
I'm
right.
fine with it.
Yeah.
You guys got a great guest, great show. You're wonderful
you.
ladies, and I appreciate you having me on your broadcast.
We definitely appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
And once again, Titan 70, we appreciate you. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes, thank you, Titan.
Gone. That was
So
great.
anyway, guys, tune in tomorrow night. We have Dr. Rebecca Foster.
I
She
know her.
you do know Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm friends with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
awesome.
we really like her.
We
We
do.
really like
Awesome.
her.
She's
She
fun.
is awesome. So she's a medical medium, and she's also a Bigfoot researcher too. So it'll be an interesting show tomorrow night, and she's fun. She Brandy and I met her when in February, was it?
February, yeah.
Yeah, and we heard her speak, and she is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So tune in tomorrow night, guys, for Rebecca Foster. So we'll see y'all. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.